Diverse use cases. And these use cases might depend on based on industries, maturity, data stack, or complexity of data. So what we've done from an Atlan perspective is we've made Atlan extendable. So to cater to all kinds of use cases across different teams. So you have open APIs where you can programmatically, so in fact, a lot of the programmatic metadata that you saw could be pushed from something like Airflow. You have a package marketplace where in future, you'll be able to build your own connectors and metadata packages. We are exposing a lot of these events where a column get dropped, or maybe a description got changed, or PI got tagged. We are exposing that for teams to actually leverage that to create their own custom use cases downstream. And in fact, to talk about those use cases, I'm going to pass on to Mark, who leads our sales engineering efforts. We're going to talk about some amazing customers of how they're leveraging some of these extensibility and driving their use cases. So Mark, over to you.
All right, thank you, folks. So as Varun kind of walked us through a lot of the product UI functionality for various embedded collaboration use cases and metadata activation on that front, I wanted to walk you through some of the use cases that we're seeing with some of our customers that are very platform driven, so a little bit more difficult to demo. So I thought we would kind of walk you through some of the problem statements and use cases and architectures that are essentially our customers are building on top of Atlan. So the first is with a Fortune 100 technology company. This is a very complex organization. They're managing enterprise data across 70,000 employees and hundreds of thousands of different customers. They have a very complex data lake environment and have a suite of downstream APIs that are actually consuming the data and are powering their customer experience platform. So it's a bit of a different use case, and it's not necessarily BI tools that are consuming the data from their data lake. Rather, there's APIs that are powering a platform. Now, there's hundreds of metadata change events that are happening across over 100,000 tables in their data lake environment. And this has caused challenges across two domains. The first domain is on the security side. So if there's a schema change or a data classification change, the security team doesn't really understand or have visibility into what was that schema change, if there was a new column added, what's actually in that column, if a data classification was added or removed, why. And so their triage process is highly kind of reactionary and an extremely manual process to kind of dig through potential changes in the data lake environment. And so this induced a significant risk from a security and compliance perspective. The other avenue was on the business side that the engineering team was managing. And so they want to understand if there is, say, a schema change that occurs in the data lake environment. What was that change? How is it going to impact their downstream API endpoints that are powering their CX platform? And there's really no human in the loop there because it's not, say, a downstream analyst that might notice something off. It's a downstream system that's consuming the information. So this kind of induces a business risk in that changes to their environment could, impact their own customers. And so that's kind of the problem statement. The after state here, architecture with Atlan. So as Varun had mentioned, we have an extremely extensible and flexible platform. One of the things that we have embedded in our platform is a Kafka queue. This Kafka queue tracks metadata changes. So things like schema changes, things like classification tags being added or removed. And we've opened up this Kafka queue with an integration into AWS Event Bridge so that customers can configure any type of downstream actions based on the change events that we're picking up in Kafka. And so in this flow, the security team is kind of proactively alerted with WebEx Teams notification, automatically opening up a Jira ticket if any one of these metadata change events occurred. On the engineering side, similarly, notifications that can also programmatically trigger data tests to have an automated kind of remediation workflow. So provide both notifications and visibility to the security teams, as well as immediate actionable steps that can be taken to remediate any issues. And so this really falls into the bucket of programmatic governance. Huge impact in that the customer was going from either no process or highly manual process to really having most of this flow automated, ultimately reducing the kind of business risk as well as the security and compliance risk. So this is another use case that comes from a customer that's a leading media analytics platform. They have a massive amount of data in their ecosystem on the petabyte scale, and they buy a lot of external data feeds. Now, these external data feeds have contractual obligations associated with their data. And when the data needs to be deleted, it might be a little bit difficult to see, but there's this multi-step process that is entirely manual and human-driven. And this opens up issues around human-dependent processes. People forget to perform one step of the process, the whole process breaks. And of course, there was contractual, penalties if the data was not deleted or if they couldn't prove that the data was deleted. Ultimately, the crux of it is that they were managing this with human beings in Excel spreadsheets. And that was creating, this contractual breaches and legal risk. So with Atlan, they developed an automated workflow, which used a combination of our native extraction features as well as integration with our APIs. So instead of those manual steps with a spreadsheet, Atlan essentially crawls the data from S3 by way of Glue. There's an automatic notification to the analytics and program managers. A Jira ticket is automatically created based on the contract end date, 30 days before the contract end date. Then the deletion of data from S3 happens programmatically based on that end date. And then they notify the legal and compliance teams with a report of data destruction. So really the more advanced use cases and indicative of how our customers are using a combination of our native extraction capabilities as automation capabilities and the extensibility of our API to really take these complex data operations and automate them and ultimately lead to reducing legal risk and saving the productivity and time of the data teams, as well as I might mention morale, because I don't think anyone here wants to be manually updating spreadsheets these days. And then I guess final piece is that these two use cases are just two examples of how customers are extending our platform capabilities to create automated use cases across various domains, but they are by no means comprehensive. But here's some of the other use cases around cost optimization, security, quality. We had one customer that used a combination of metadata and lineage to find duplicate tables that led to a $50,000 per month reduction in their cloud bill, their BigQuery bill, just by the visibility that they gained from Atlan.